Hello, everyone.
Saúde. Hello. Iris Zaki, welcome to Bucharest, and thank you for this film. So, what's the reality, and what will this film? How will this film change it?
Wow, that's the last question, usually. First of all, I want to thank you for coming to watch my film, for staying here now. I'm very, very excited to be here. I arrived now I took a flight from Boston yesterday, stopped in London for a few hours at the airport, and now I'm here. So I'm a bit spaced out and a bit drunk from a beer that I had very briefly now, too fast. But thank you very much, and I want to thank the festival. That's the formal part. And the reality of Israel, of the West Bank, of the settlers, of...
He's saying at some point that's the reality and we have to deal with it, or to make the best out of it.
It's $1 million question. It's everything, but I think that... Oops, sorry. My shirt is funny. Sorry, you saw my belly. Now we're very intimate. I think the reality in Israel is very fucked up. For years, I don't remember any point in my life that my life wasn't affected by politics. I don't remember my mom's life in Israel ever being, it's all very connected to the conflict, and it's always been like that. It's a young country. So the reality, it's something very, an abstract thing, because the reality for Israelis, or the reality for Palestinians, or for settlers, or for left-wing Israelis that don't support the government, so you can, but I will answer something that I do feel strongly about, and that's, there is reality, and that's what I learned from making this film. There is reality, which is an abstract. It's a concept that we have, but people have different narratives for the same reality. Everyone has their own narrative, and everyone thinks that their narrative is reality. And what I learned from spending 2 months in the West Bank in this settlement is that my narrative and my settlers' friends' narrative is very different, because of the way we were raised, because of the place in which we were raised, and in order to improve reality, I think, but that's usually the end for me, these thoughts. The only way to solve things would be to accept the fact that there are different narratives. That's how I feel now, because I used to say the settlers, that's bad. I don't care what their narrative is.
But this is probably what your film brings, different sides of reality. I bet there are many questions from the audience, so let's give the mic there. Dacă sunt întrebări, pasă microfonul.
What did you expect? Hi. I was wondering what you had in mind when you started filming this documentary. Did you expect to change the reality, this narrative that you're talking about, or did you? What were your thoughts when you're organizing the making of the documentary?
I think that I'm always curious to learn other people's perspectives. In my filmmaking, I don't do research on a place before. I don't do research to find characters. I don't do any pre-interview to find people that would suit my film. In that sense, I kind of try to go through a journey myself. If I made a film about settlers from my own agenda, it wouldn't look like that. But I'm happy I hadn't done that. For me, my motivation wasn't even political. I did a PhD in London in documentary filmmaking to test my own interviewing technique. I call it the abandoned camera. I try to create a situation where two people talk in a very casual way. Two strangers, me and another person from a community. So for me, that was kind of like the motivation to see if I'll manage to get settlers to talk to me like I managed to get in the previous 2 films I made. So I made 3 films following the same method. I didn't think too much about the political aspect. I realized how tough it is when I had the film, when I made the film, edited the film, screened the film. I went through a lot of tough times with this film. And it's funny because, it's not about a murderer, it's not about something very exotic or problematic. It's about people, normal people, more or less. But this concept of settlers is people react to it very strongly. And the way that you choose to represent a community that already has a specific reputation, it's something that is, and it's political, that's very tough. I went through a lot.
Hi. So my question is a bit complicated, I think, even in my mind. So I've noticed while interviewing them, the settlers there, that your attitude was very strong. I mean, one, you said from the beginning that you were against them in a way, ideologically speaking. But in the same time, when interviewing them, you were very out front with what's your stand. And my question is, do you do this because of your strong beliefs, or did you wanted to provoke them? Or because in my opinion, when you want to meet the locals and you want to see what they are thinking and what they are feeling, maybe you just don't go smashing in their face, I don't think you are right, I don't think so, but I don't know if you...
I totally get what you said.
Okay, thank you.
And I have an answer, so it's good. First of all, usually I'm being accused of not confronting them. So it's nice to hear that you think that I did confront them. We're not arguing. So in that sense, I don't think that I'm confronting them because they said things that I could have said, but hey, darling, these are the facts. There's the occupation, there's this, there's that. It's not that dynamic of an argument, and it's because I didn't want to get into an argument. However, that's the way I am. If you put me in a settlement, I will say what I feel. So I try to be very authentic and say right away what I feel about. But that's again for me the goal is to have a more balanced conversation and not an interview. So in a conversation, you express your opinions. You don't exclude yourself because you are now a filmmaker. I don't want to do that. But people say, why didn't you tell them? But the Palestinians were here and you did that. I didn't go as a politician. I didn't go to argue. I think that the dynamic of an argument, again, it makes people close down and not open up. And I think it's all about the balance of me being really authentically curious and honest about my opinions. Like, I don't like the fact that you live here, but I want to hear why you want to live here. So that was kind of like I think what did get me the respect at the end of the day, because when I got to the settlement saying, look, I'm against the settlements, they didn't trust me. And I think that generally settlers don't trust people with cameras because a lot of cameras capture them in a very specific way. So they have good reasons to fear cameras. I did try very hard to balance within myself the urge to sometimes confront, the urge to want to bring something to the film, but also in a more ethnographic way, to be a good ethnographer and really get to learn the community that I live with. But it is a struggle, it still is, but now I'm more okay with it.
Hi. Now, you said that you never went to Hebron. I want to ask you if from that time on until now, did you gather up the courage to go to Hebron? And if you didn't, what are you afraid of? Thank you.
I wanted to go. I think Hebron is exactly what a lot of films on settlers are like. It's the radical settlers, the ideologically driven settlers, the ones that don't care to live in the heart of the Palestinian community. It's very different. It's a different hill. They don't really disturb anyone geographically. We can talk about that, but generally it's not in their face. Hebron is very ugly, it's very violent. I don't want to be there. I don't want my soul to be there. I think it's important for Israelis to go there. I think that a part of the way that I edited the film, I try to have self criticism on Israeli left-wing people that they sit in their in their cafes in Tel Aviv, and they don't like the occupation, but they don't really do anything. They wouldn't go to Hebron. So I try to point out all of that. Also, my own camp in Israel, because we're not really activists. We don't do much. So it's also self-criticism. Maybe about this generation is also we do a lot of things on Facebook, which make us feel very yeah, I'm an activist, but come on. Going to Hebron or going to have coffee with my friends on Friday afternoon, I think I'm going with my friends. So that is also there. But I wouldn't make a film on settlers in Hebron. There are a lot of that, and I think it's also important to hear the normal or the gray area voices of people. I try to make my films on normal people, not people that would make it to Netflix strong documentary. The ones that are just in between.
Somehow choosing Tekoa was deliberate to go to a quiet community where people might be willing to speak to you at some point.
That wasn't the reason that I went to Tekoa, and I have to say that I think that people would speak with me everywhere, eventually. I'm very stubborn, and I stick around for as long as it takes, and I think that actually people that are more radical and ideologically driven, they go with cameras much easier than people here that actually express things that are complicated. Because each of the characters here, except for maybe the fascist, the self-defining fascist, or Michal, that is the very loving pro-coexistence woman, the other characters, to me, are the ones that represent the Israeli inner conflict of being an Israeli. It's not only being a settler, it's being the occupier. And I think that they brought up a lot of issues that criticize their own camp of settlers. And I think that that's harder than being radical and believing in what you believe and be on camera. So yes, Tkoa is very liberal. More religiously, you can wear whatever you want there. But the reason I chose Tkoa was because I was searching for someone who will be willing to help me. And Matanya, someone introduced Matanya, my main character, and he was very keen. And I was like, if I have someone, I did my PhD, I needed to make a film. I was searching for a lot of places, but I was also shy. And then Matanya came, said, yes, let me help you. That was a decision for me. But I'm glad I took the call. I think there are not enough documentaries on places like that. And I think it's important to also see faces of normal people.
Thank you. How is your documentary perceived in your country by the wings and the people?
It's a very good question. It's still I think this documentary is one of the most discussed documentaries in Israel recently because it was also on YouTube in Israel. Because the public broadcaster commissioned it after I finished it, and then they put everything on YouTube for everyone because it's public broadcaster. Which I was very nervous about, that I'm not going to have screenings, but it actually did the opposite. It made me feel very old, that I don't understand how good YouTube is. It's better than cinema. But I had screenings both in Jerusalem, where I had 400 religious settlers sitting in the Cinematheque, and in Tel Aviv. And it was very interesting, very different. I have to say that most people were very happy. The characters were very happy, but there are always people from both right and left that are unhappy. They always meet the people that are sure that they are right. That's how I see it in a sense. People that say it doesn't represent the settlers. So that's something that both left and right would say. And I don't believe that any documentary can represent an entire part of, a country. I'm not even trying to represent the settlers. It's just the opposite. It's a tiny bit of an experience that I had. But I had a lot of people generally in Israel, they are very outspoken, very direct. They talk about politics all the time, even if you're 2 a.m. drunk taking a taxi home, most likely that you and the driver will talk about politics. That's what we do. And even arguing, it's a sport, it's a national sport in Israel. So I had a lot of people, usually old people, I have to say, they're very confident.
And religious?
Um,
Response, how did it react?
It
Because there
depends.
were some statements there. A lot of people that say that they're not religious anymore. So if there was any feedback.
A lot of religious people were touched by it and thought it's very fair. It's a very fair representation of settlers. The most criticism I got was from the left, not from the right. Even before watching the film, the fact that I made a film in that sense, the fact that I'm humanizing settlers instead of demonizing settlers. And why you didn't say this and that, but most people said it's not a very dramatic film, and it's not a very this is the conclusion, this is the right answer. It's a film that kind of tackles some issues in Israel, and I hope it makes you think about things. For me, it was mainly, I talk too much, sorry, you can stop me when you want. I tend to do that. Not in the film, but it's mainly for me about actually the second generation settlers, the people that were born in the settlements, because that's something that no one actually addressed. And we're talking about people, for them, that's their habitat. They don't know anything different. I grew up in Haifa, they grew up in the West Bank. For them, it's their home. Whether we like it, I like it, they like it or not. So that for me was something that was quite significant in this experience. The understanding that people now, it's also their home. And to hear how it's like to grow up there.
So quick questions here. Here I am. Have you ever screened this movie to a Palestinian audience? First question. And second question, would you ever consider, I don't know if it's possible, if you have the courage or the possibilities, but would you ever consider making a sequel, the same documentary, but on the other side, the Palestinian side?
I did have Palestinian viewers in different countries. Now someone approached me in Palestine. I don't know how it's going to work, if it's going to work. I hope so. I'm always keen to screen my film everywhere. I feel very, very satisfied and confident with the result. At the beginning, I was very nervous about people that challenged me politically about the film. Now, from the experience, the mental experience that I went through with this film, I don't think it's even that political, this film. And I think it's important. The fact that so many people were angry, or festivals didn't want to take it because I'm showing something okay, not that nice, but okay about settlers, it means that I'm doing something good. And even though it's not popular and maybe fuck my career a bit, but I think I did the right thing and I'm very happy about it. When it comes to Palestinians, I think that a Palestinian should do the same thing. Because my last film, Women in Sync, was about Palestinian Arab women living in Israel, even though many of them in my film would never call themselves Palestinians, but that's the beginning of the problem, that I, as an outsider and occupier, if you will, or wish, shouldn't be representing people that are inferior to me. So I think that it's something that should be done maybe from the side, you know, with a filmmaker from that side.
Quick question from me. I was curious if your open-mindedness has anything to do with the family you're raised in, if members of your family share the same views, or there are differences or discrepancies in between their views on the occupancy subject.
So my brother is a politician. He's in Israel, it's all about who's more left-wing, who's last, you know, it's it's like dick size. Basically, I was left first. He was then right, but now my brother is it was, you know, B'Tselem is a pro-human rights, pro-Palestine human rights organization. My brother did it in the US for a while, and now his partner is the head of the Social Democratic Party in Israel, Meretz, which is the very leftovers of the Jewish left wing, because everyone went right or to the center in Israel. There's no left, and so we're all in the same on the same side. But yeah, my brother was so worried. He watched the film and he was like, he gave me notes. Oh no, that's not good for us. That for us, the left wing. And I went back to my editor and he got very nervous and we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And we did take some parts, which not out. I had to take everything out. You know, I had the 1 hour, 2 hours conversation with 40 people, and then you have 7 minutes. No, but you know, I wanted to feel that it is a statement. At the end of the day, you make a documentary, and through what other people say, it is your statement at the end of the day. So then I edited it in a way that I'm very happy about. Everything is there. But cut cutting, editing is very hard, generally. It's like you change meanings and everything, and it's very sensitive. But I think that now I'm very happy with my character in the film, and the characters are happy with their characters in the film. And I like the fact that it confuses everything. It's not right-wing film or left-wing film. I think it's good. It's the human thing, I think. You must be tired. Thank you so much.
We thank you. Mulțumim foarte mult că ați rămas. Thank you very much, Iris, and have a nice evening. Mai sunt proiecții de la ora 9 aici la Pavilion 38.